Hey, what's going on, everybody? Jarrell Solis coming back to you from Confidence Pest Control. And first and foremost, I just want to say thank you so much for hitting that play button. You know, all the new subscribers, all the comments, all the shares, all the likes, all that good stuff. It just it means the world to me, man. So thank you all so much for all that. I've been getting a lot, man, and it's the best. You know, people out there, and it really gets me going because there's other entrepreneurs out there. And real quick, you know, the other day I was watching a movie and I was watching this guy. It was some Christmas movie. Me and my wife were watching, and the guy, he's trying to start his business and he's trying to get that one big bid, man. And you know, it's so funny how entrepreneurs, you know, they'll tell you, you know, I mean, it's not an overnight thing, but you know, sometimes it takes that one big bid that just takes you over the edge, and you know, you really get to, you know, create something special with that one. Um, Hopefully that's the case for me. I haven't really had that, you know. I mean, don't get me wrong. I I'm more of a little things, you know. Let's just do all the little things right, and then you get that big thing. But it's pretty inspiring to see the entrepreneur win, man. I love seeing that, and so for all you guys, you know, I love this because it's inspiring entrepreneurs and you know guys who've just started things like that. And I'm still right there in that ring. You know, I'm in that arena, and so you know that I know that other people are just like me, and they got my back, and I've got their back, and we can just help each other out, man. It's a truly, you know, pretty special thing. So with that all being said, man, I'm going to jump right into it. I'm going to talk about a few things. I got a few questions recently. One of them was a pretty fun one that I, you know, hadn't even thought about, and I wanted to make a video on that today. But before I go into that, I'm going to answer a couple of things. Let me see. Um, one of you asked about my pricing. Um, what did he say? He asked me, and I'm sorry, I'm trying to go through here right now. Oops. Hopefully, it didn't get too bad while I was talking. Uh, where is it at? I can't even see it, but I wrote it down, and I wanted to shout out the you know, the specific person, but I'm sorry, man, my phone's, and I don't want to take too long. But he asked about my initial price versus my reoccurring price, and asked if there's a, you know, if there's a difference. For example, you know, you sell a brand new quarterly service. Is it going to be, you know, let's say $99 for the initial and then $99 for the quarterly moving forward? Excuse me. Or is there going to be, you know, a price difference in those services? And for me, the answer is I definitely have a separate service or a separate price for the initial service. And you know, to break that down, you want to understand that initial service, especially if it's a brand new customer who's never had pest control, or you know, maybe they've had pest control, but maybe it's a brand new home. Maybe this is the first time for this specific address in this home. What that means is you're going to deal with you know, a little bit more than what you would on a regular maintenance service, you know. So on that initial service, you might want to bump it up to, you know, me typically I do about 150 for the initial service, and I let them know, hey, I'm going to be dewebbing, I'm going to be removing all the wasp nests, all the spider webs and debris from around the windows and entryways, all around the eaves. I'm going to make sure everything looks nice and clean, and this is kind of how I pitch it to my customer. And I say, you know, because you want to build that value as always. I say, hey, you know, I'm going to do all that. I'm going to remove all that. I'm also going to dust all your little weep holes. Where is it at? Right there. You know, the holes above the windows, and obviously the weep holes along the foundation. And I say, hey, that's a, you know, a big access point for a lot of pests. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to dust these for you. It's going to make sure that they're all good to go, all your cracks and crevices. I then use my, you know, my backpack sprayer. I'm going to treat your entryways, your foundation, your exterior. I'm going to go a few feet up and a few feet out, just depending on what the label says and what product I'm using. And sometimes I also go along the fence line, again, depending on the label. And then I'll let them know I'm going to walk the yard, make sure that there's nothing, you know, no issues on the perimeter. I'm going to granulate and make sure that your yard is good to go. Explain all that to them. And that very first service, you know, because I don't dust at every service, it's not necessary. I do deweb, I do spray, and I do granulate at 99.9% of my services. But that very first one, that's where, and you want to be aware, and you want to be cautious. I say this because that customer sees that initial service and they see everything you're doing, and it happens all the time. You do a really, really great job on the initial, and then when you come back on that, follow up service, or maybe two or three services later, you've already been here, and the customer sees you, and they're like, man, the guy took, an hour for the first one, and now it's only taking you 15 to 20 minutes to do this home. Education is such a big part of what we do, and setting the expectations. And so, you don't want to completely, you know, overdo it on that very, very first service. And say, I mean, unless that's exactly how you do it, just be cautious, because it happens all the time. I've run into it a million times over my career in the pest control industry, where the sales rep, a door to door in particular, they might sell this and that. The initial service is typically a start tech who doesn't know a whole, who doesn't. I don't say typically doesn't know, who maybe they're pretty new. This is their first job. In the pest industry, you start off as start tech a lot of the times. So there's like, all right, yeah, the customer said that, the salesman said we're going to do this, so we do this, and then another thing happens. Then the regular tech comes out here, the guy, the salt dog, the one who's been doing this for a while, and he's like, what do you say? We put a rodent bait station in the attic, and no, you can't do that. There's certain things you can't do. And so then the customer's upset because, the first guy did everything that they were supposed to, or that they thought they were supposed to, or they did this really long service, and here you are dewebbing, spraying, granulating, doing a really good, thorough service. But because you're only there for 15 to 20 minutes, the customer might perceive that as not getting their value. So you want to be sure you educate those customers and let them know this initial service. The reason it's higher, it's because you don't have pest control. You haven't had pest control. This is the very first service. There's a little bit more work to do on that initial service. There's a little bit more time that you're going to spend on that initial service. So yeah, you want to upcharge a little bit so that you make sure that it's worth it. That's my advice. And then after that, let them know. And then after that, it's not going to be $150 every quarterly service. For us, it's only going to be 100, or it's going to be 99 even, or something like that. And that's because now it's just regular maintenance. So you save that $50 every service. They know. And it's like, oh, okay, I understand that. That first time's a hard one. After that, it's just regular upkeep, and it's much easier to maintain than it is to start all over every time. So when you explain those things, when you educate your customers, things like that, they understand the value, and they're just completely on board. You're really not going to have that much kickback. Everyone's always scared, like, oh no, like, no, dude. Especially if they call you or if they want your service, hey, you're going to pay. Hey, tell them it's $150 for the initial. Then after that, maybe it's only $120. I don't know. You tailor your service to your prices, all that, but that's just my 2 cents on it. So just be aware and make sure that the customer is one educated and understands, and you set those expectations, because that's going to be one of the biggest hurdles you have to go through as an owner, as a technician. I'm sure. So everything is with pest control in particular, and sure, like a lot of home services, if you're doing like weed and fert and stuff like that, but education and expectations are everything. So make sure that you let them know, hey, yeah, we do come back between services, but after this first service, you're going to see a little bit more activity. It's very, very common, or, it's almost expected. So after this initial service, that you see an uptick in, pest activity. And that's normal, because now we've disturbed them where they're lying. They had their home. They've been hanging out for the past year, 2 years, whatever, and they've been hanging out, and now we just disturbed their home. Now they're looking for somewhere else to go. You're going to start seeing them dying. You're going to start seeing a lot of dead pests, but you will see a little bit more pest activity. When they know that, now they know, hey, okay, in 2 weeks, yeah, we're seeing more bugs, but the expert, the professional, they told me that's exactly what to expect. I'm seeing it. They're right. After that second service, and after you get on some maintenance, then you realize, hey, I haven't seen any pests in a while, and when you set those I've seen minimal pests, because seeing no pests can be very difficult. Um, but hey, I'm seeing minimal pests. And so when you set those expectations and you educate that customer, all you're doing is setting yourself up for success because, yeah, you're not going to have to worry about those return visits for something that could have been avoided. It's like, hey, there's dead pests all over the place, but I'm seeing them, and just educate your customers. So that's my take on that. So upcharge a little bit on the initial service. You're worth, it's your time, and in the beginning, maybe you don't have to. Hey, I'm going to do it for $99 flat rate. Your initial and your regular service is all 99, whatever. But as you grow, you're going to realize your time is pretty valuable. So make sure that it's getting used wisely. I mean, you're in your service. Once you build those reviews and you've built that reputation that you're trustable and that you're a premium service, again, if that's what you're going for, then and you do what you say, if you do the things that the other companies aren't doing, you're gonna get those calls, and then you can charge. And when I say what you want, I mean that as a very loose relative term. I don't say, yeah, you can charge $5 or $500 for an initial service. Customers, I mean, be realistic, but you definitely you put yourself in a position excuse me, to charge a little bit more. A premium service gets a premium rate, and so take all that into consideration. Another one of the guys, let me see this one. The Royce report, man. He, shout out, brother. Thanks for watching, man. I know you say you use demand CS and rodents. I mean, you go into a really long message about all the products you use, and I want to touch on that. And absolutely do your research. I made the products on what I use, on what products you can use, but that doesn't mean these are the products that you need to be using. There's going to be a million products that are better than some of the products I use. There's going to be a million products that might be cheaper. Some of them, there's plenty of stuff out there, trial and error, and that's a really really good thing about business ownership. And I can speak specifically to that because I remember when I worked for a company, big door to door company. All we knew was, it was just, hey, we're using Suspend right now, or we're using Taurus right now, or we're using, I mean, just whatever the product is that they're using. We're rotate, and they do rotate it. I'll get into that in a second. But it's, hey, we use this, and we're using, these, bang, 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 Delta Dust, Suspend, and, Bifin IT, I'm sorry, Bifin LP, or Talstar, or, some type of granules, who knows? Sorry, excuse me. But that's really all we had. We were limited. If I went into the warehouse, obviously they had plenty of products and different options of products that we can rotate through. But um, I mean, it wasn't, it was the service manager like, hey, no, we're using this, and so as the business owner and as you guys and myself, we get to start making those decisions, and we get to figure out what works and what doesn't work. What might save us a little bit money. On the product might be a little bit cheaper. I mean, you get to do all that. You get to be, creative. You get to do the research. I mean, and do it, dude. One of the best things you can do is just go on to Do My Own Pest Control, and then just type in a product you're looking for. It has the active ingredients. It has, all the information right there online, so you can look up all the products you want to use. You can look everything up and figure out what it is that you want to do. Maybe you're going to be doing a lot of bi-monthly, so you don't need an encapsulated product because that product is going to last, maybe 45 to 60 days, depending on the, where you're at, the weather, and all those things. But, there's just such a variety of products and ways to do this. I mean, so, my way is, I mean, there's 10 pest controls within like a 5 mile radius of me. And I guarantee we all use something a little bit different. But as the owner and as the business owner and the decision maker, you're able to put a lot of products in your arsenal, have a lot of arrows. I mean, you can't just say, hey, we're going to use Bifin only when you're in an area like in Arizona or, some parts of Texas or California, things where you might deal with a lot of scorpions. there's going to be product you might need, certain pyrethroids, things like that. There's going to be, it just depends, So having all those, like the arrow in the quiver, analogy, having a lot of different options to use and to have at your disposal is a really awesome thing, because I can just go in, or I can go online. It's like, hey, that product, let's people are raving about that. I've never heard it, and you get to try it out. Build a connection with, go on and build a relationship with a lot of your vendors. Go on to Viserys, Do My Own, and Target, and as an owner, you're going to get taxed, but you get special, deals that regular customers wouldn't. So take advantage of that, of those kinds of things, and also take advantage of those kinds of people and their knowledge. Really reach out to them, build that relationship, and what happens is they also, hey, we've got a great product. My guy Butch, I talk about him all the time. I'll go over there and he'll say, hey, try this product out. Let me know what you think about it. Let's see if it works, and if it does, then you can start buying it. Or we can, I can know to keep it on the shelves to sell. Whereas, before it's just like, hey, we're limited to the only products that my service manager, my, the business owner, the GM that they're going to allow us. So having a wide range of products, it's awesome. You get to, experiment different things and try different, uh, just applications. Try it all. Do what's best for you. That's the beauty of being, an owner and doing these things is you make, you call the shots. You get to do all this stuff. So absolutely take advantage of that. Take advantage of those people and the knowledge that they have, because then you get to just expand, your knowledge as well, and you just become that much better at what you do. And that's what I'm trying to do, man. I'm really not the technical, that kind of stuff, but I'm learning about it as well. Even right now, I'm doing deep dives into learning a lot more about the technical side, because I've been so focused on the business side, and I want to, but I also want, I'm the expert, and so I want to appear to be the expert whenever I'm talking to customers, and this year as I'm knocking on doors, when they're going to ask questions, and the more knowledgeable you are about not only your service but the products, the more competent you come off to those customers and to those potential customers, and it really just, again, it's all preparation. It all just sets yourself up, and and you'll be good to go. Um, so hopefully that answered, or hopefully that was informative on some of that stuff. And then one of the last things I want to talk about real quick, I've got 17 minutes in. Y'all know I make my long videos. I'm long-winded. Uh, maybe I'm my wife's family's from Chicago. Maybe I should have been from there as well, because I definitely hold a reputation. But I'm gonna jump into, yeah, it's a great question. So I want to shout out to my boy real quick. Where you at? Wilson does stuff, brother. You asked me, can you do a video on what did day one look like? The first day on your own. You quit the other company, and now is the first day you put on the new uniform. What happened that day, and what did you feel? I read that question. I just smiled again, just like right now, man. And it's a fun question, and I wish I could tell you. I wish I could go back and kind of capture the entire day, maybe on video, or just I wish I had more information. I can't. I don't really, to be completely honest. So much has gone by, and my mind's a mile. I mean, a million miles a freaking second, dude. So I'm all over the place, as y'all can see from watching these videos, but. Day one was April 10th, 2023. I had set my Facebook up and everything. It was supposed to be April the 14th. I remember it was later that week, but I was able to, I had everything that I needed. I talked to my other company. They knew that I was going to be doing my own thing. Um, Shout out to my old boss Ross and Richard, my service manager. I know it's one of those weird situations. It's like, hey, you got a good guy, you want to keep on the team, things like that. But and here you are you're getting them trained, and then them leaving to start your own thing. But they were super super understanding. And they were just really, really good about the entire thing, man. I can't say enough good things about Ross and Richard and that team at the time, because they handled it well. They were just awesome about everything. It was really, really cool. But I remember that first day one, I had a black polo and some brown, work pants and my boots, and I had a hat made, and I had my logo on my shirt, dude. My logo on my truck was ready to go. My backpack sprayer was ready. I had some product. Dude, I just remember feeling on top of the world for a moment, because man, it was like I started my day. I got in my truck, and it's like, let me go start my day and start my business. But you realize real quick, man, that there's just not that much to. I mean, there's a lot to do, but there's also just not much to do at all. I mean, you're gonna twiddle your thumbs, but hopefully that's where I can come in and help you out, man. Because go knock on doors, just knock on doors, pave the pavement. If that's something you really want to do, is grow that business and grow those accounts, listen to Door to Door Millionaire, listen to the Door to Door podcast. I'm doing that literally right now, and just go start knocking on doors. It's gonna suck, you're gonna hate it, but man, it's gonna be rewarding. Go knock on doors. I had a friend, or I had a family member who was like, "Hey, I know somebody who wants pest control," and it was the sweetest old lady. Her name is Miss Pam, uh, Miss Phillips, and she is down the road. She's still a customer right now. She's like, I don't know, dude. She's like 85, 90 years old. I mean, the sweetest old lady. Very, very nice. I mean, just super kind. And she roots for me every time I come, and she asks me how I'm doing. I always remind her that, hey, you're number one. It's going to be a very, very sad day, when she sells, or heaven forbid anything else, because that's my first customer. She has a special place in my heart. But I remember doing that service, walking around, treating and doing everything. It's like, hey, I already know what I'm doing as far as the service. I had a sales background. Well, I had done sales, so I already knew how to add them into the system, things like that. It was just, man, I did that service, and 25, yeah, it was about 20 to 25 minutes. It was a small house, it wasn't too much. But I remember, she put a card on file, and I said, all right, and I can. And she goes, yeah, you just keep that card on file, and every time you do the service. I said, all right. And I knew that I wanted to do monthly billing, but I also knew that she was used to pay after service, bi-monthly. I sell quarterly, so it was not even my typical ideal customer. Service that I offer, because typically I do quarterly service with monthly billing. She was a bi-monthly service with pay after the service is completed, but I think it was like $90, and I finished up, and I remember thinking to myself, dude, I just made $90 in 20 minutes, and I was being paid hourly at the last company. It was hourly, and then you got your bonuses and things like that. But I remember calculating, and I would hit a lot of the bonus marks, and I'm like, okay, so if I do this, I have to do 3 services in 1 hour to make, even to come close to what I'm making, what I just made in 20 minutes. And that was just the biggest eye opener for me. And just kind of that's when it really kind of set in, that first time where, hey, I can help people and help them solve their problems, and I can get paid for it, and I can get paid pretty good for it. And because at so many companies, you kind of start to get bitter, especially as you want to grow, and you start thinking, I'm doing all this, and the boss is out there on a European vacation in the summer, while during the Texas summer, I am fucking doing 14, 15 stops a day, and it is 112 degrees, and it is just rough, and you're sitting there and you're just like, dude, like, this sucks. I mean, for me, that's personally how my journey kind of started. I was like, dude, this sucks. I want to be out there. I want to live that kind of lifestyle, but I'm here. Everything that I'm doing, I'm making just a fraction of what the customer is paying, and then a lot of the everything else. But I'm like, and you start looking in pest control, and once you start going taking a deep dive, you can realize that pest control it can have a really high profit margin. So I'm like, hey, let's say it's at 70%. I mean, because there are companies that operate at 70 to 75% profits in pest control. Let's make it simple: $100, and you get $75 out of that. So you know that $100, $25 took care of your technician, your truck, your gas, your product, all that, and $75 you get to keep. I'm like, or go invest into the business. Say you invest half of that, and then you keep the other half. I'm like, that's still pretty good money. And so once I realized that I wasn't going to get to where I wanted being a technician or even being an employee, I made that jump. And then on that specific day, day one, that was a big eye opener. Where yeah, you know what, this can be something special. Like if I just get a whole lot of people like Miss Phillips, where they just say, hey, yeah, just pay me and here's my card on file. I can make a really good living, and I can provide everything that my kids and my wife need and want. And so it was a really euphoric feeling, to be honest, because it was just, and I say euphoric just because it's just mind opening, or yeah, mind shattering. I mean, once you realize, and I had that same feeling again, because that was just a regular pest control service. A few weeks later, I remember doing a termite job, and it was a trench and treat. I did it for, I think it totaled out, after tax, it ended up being like $1,500, and luckily at that time it had rained not too long, so the ground was pretty soft. It was as smooth as it was as smooth of a process that it could have been that day. I trenched around the home. It was the dirt was nice and soft. It wasn't lime. It was easy. The rig worked perfectly that day. And it's funny because after that service, the rig kind of shut off. It just wouldn't start up again, but it did everything that I needed that day. It took care of everything. Everything just kind of lined up that day. And, he was like, okay, yeah, he used a debit card to pay, and bam, I just made what I would make in a week, I mean, less than, not even, I mean, it wasn't, it was just, and I made that in, I think that entire process took me maybe that day, maybe an hour and a half. So, when you start looking at, hey, I'm making, let's say $1,200, when you start saying, hey, I'm making, you know, $1,200 an hour, that's a pretty euphoric feeling. That's a pretty good feeling. And so I remember that day, just again, that was more of a reiteration of day one, where I'm like, I can't believe I just got made all that. I'm going to put this away. I'm going to be able to buy some products that I need, because I had this little $16 B&G from or hand sprayer. I can't even call it. It was a little $16 pump from Home Depot or Lowe's, and I've still got it in the garage. It's, started from the bottom. Now we're here, right? And yeah, it was just this little bitty plastic pump. I mean, and it did the job. But I got a check. I was like, hey man, I can invest in some good equipment, and that's what you do. You get that money and invest. But back to day one, I finished that service. I remember walking. I said, I'm here. Let's just knock on a few doors. I'm not a door knocker. I knew that I was, and I was at the time. I said, I'm not a door knocker, but I'm already right here. I don't have any other jobs to do, so let's just go and try to make those jobs happen. So I went next door. I knocked on that door. No answer. And then I went across the street. I knocked on that door. No answer. And then I went to the house next door, and they answered. They said, hey, yeah, do you take care of rodents? I said, yeah. They said, all right, well, um, we've got, I don't need a whole lot, but there is a rat. It was an empty house that they were getting ready to, sell, and they were doing some work on. They said, would you be able to, get these rodents? I said, yeah. They asked me when I could do it, and I got about all day right now. And so I said, all right, yeah, let's go ahead and do it. I said, let me just run. I said, you know what? I've got everything I need. Let me just run real quick to my house to grab the stuff that I need, which I didn't have anything. I had literally no stuff for rodents. It was in April, so I really wasn't, seasonality. I knew that rodents wasn't the, top of mind. It wasn't the biggest issue, but there was a customer that was dealing with it, a potential customer. So I said, yeah, I got it. I had I don't know, man. I mean, I had maybe a couple dozen dollars to my name in the account, in my bank account. And so I ran to Home Depot and Lowe's and I got me maybe 3 or 4 boxes of Snapchats real quick. I think by the end of that day, I was at, my balance was like $1.42 at the end of day one. And, but I went and got those traps and he said, how much? I said, $200 and I'll make sure that everything's good to go. Just threw out a number. He said, yeah, go ahead. I set some traps. I caught 2 rats. I came back the next day. I caught 2 rats. He said, "All right, cool." And I was there. There it was, $200. $300 I had just made in an hour. And so, from then it was just game on. I asked him. I'm like, "Hey, uh, can I get a 5-star review?" And I asked him, and that's another thing I did on day one. I reached out to everybody that I knew. I coached some little league stuff. I've coached t-ball and football and stuff. And so I reached out to some of my parents and I said, "Listen, I'm not trying to sell you my service or anything like that, but what I am trying to do is grow my business." And I can recommend you do this if it's hopefully, I mean, Google, if you're watching this, hopefully everything's good to go. But I didn't ask for a service review, because don't ask them for something that you haven't done. Don't go out there and don't get in the habits of just asking people for reviews for the sake of a review, and just to get those numbers. Earn that shit, fucking earn it. I mean, it's not hard, just earn it. Um, but the way that I did it with a lot of the people, obviously, I've only done one service. Not everybody, I can't have, but I had a good bit of reviews already, maybe like 7 or 8, but those were character reviews. I said, hey, I know you haven't gotten my service, and I'm not asking you. And please don't tell Google that, hey, that I did a great service, even though I've never been to your home. But if you'd be willing to maybe do a character review, just let them know what kind of person I am, and I try to be a good person, And so I was able to get a few of those, and then I got a couple of the service reviews. And I mean, by the end of my first week, I think I was at, yeah, maybe like 6 or 7 reviews. And so I again, I watched videos and I listened to podcasts and books and everything. And they said, hey, one of the best things that you can do as a growing business is get all the 5-star Google reviews you can get. I mean, you can get them on other platforms, but right now Google is king. And so I say it all the time. I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel. I'm just trying to get to where other people before me have gotten. And they did it with getting a lot of reviews. I'm like, all right, well, that works. And so that's what I did. That first day, that first week, I was reaching out to people. I went through my Facebook list, and everybody that I knew in my particular area in my hometown, I sent them a message. I said, hey, I hope all is well. I hope you're doing great. I love seeing all the pictures and videos of you and your family that you post. I personalized it to every single one of them, and that's like 100 and something people that I personalized the message to. But it's not like I had anything else going that day. So I personalized that message, and then I said, hey, I just started a business, and you don't want to, I can make another video about that, but I was just letting them know, you got to be informed. You got to get in front of as many people as you can. And so I sent everybody a message and I said, hey, if there's ever anything that I can do for you, if I can be a resource, I don't have to be your pest guy, but if you just, I'm happy to be a resource. If you have any questions, if you have any issues, I'm more than happy. And I got maybe, I mean, out of 150 messages, most of them didn't respond, and I wasn't expecting that. But it's a numbers game, out of 150, I got maybe 20 to 30 responses with maybe, I don't know, it was like 4 to 5 sales, and new customers. With those customers, you ask them for a review. You get those reviews, and then shortly after, I remember, April. It was kind of a slow week after that first day. I mean, that first entire week. I think I did maybe 4 services tops. I ended the month of April with, I think, 4 customers. I didn't, or maybe 5 customers. I think I might have done one time or something. But one of the things I did do early on, almost, I think it happened like a week after I started, and that was really, really awesome. Again, you have to, and I got to thank my family and friends for that. They were sharing my posts, just love and support. They knew I just started, so all they did was hit that share button. Once somebody shared it from a completely, they were actually, I think, in Oklahoma at the time, maybe they might have been down in Corpus by then, but they were in Oklahoma. They had a friend that they grew up with down in South Texas, so they knew each other. And the friend from South Texas, she saw that she had shared my post. I was like, "Hey, pest control." She goes, "I'm a realtor, and we're getting this big group meeting, and we need pest control." She goes, "Hey, I didn't know you lived in this area." She said, "Well, I don't. It's actually my cousin's husband, and this and that." And then, I mean, it was everybody knew each other. They all knew each other, but because of them sharing my things, and because I was, posting, go on Facebook, post, go on Google post, do those things that first day, that first week, post, just share a lot of stuff. But because of that, she said, "Hey, are you willing to do, would you like to do this networking event?" I said, "I don't have $200. Everything that I spent, I think I had, you know, oh, you know what? Actually, I had got that $200 that came from that rat job." And I said, "All I have is $200. And, and then a few dollars that I had from the first job. It wasn't much. And the registration to do that networking event was $200. And I had a day's notice, and I'm just so fucking blessed and so thankful for my wife, because she's so creative and so crafty, and she had all these earrings, and it's already at 35 minutes, but I just want to dive into this really, really quick, because shout out to my wife. She had her own Etsy shop at one point, and she had earrings and jewelry, and she would make for, and she would sell, all over the place and online, and it was really well. After we had our third child, my little turtle dove, um, she was like, "Hey, we got three kids, we got a lot going on." She just, I had started the business. I mean, it just, so she really wasn't doing the Etsy thing anymore, but she had a lot of that stuff. And that's another thing. I knew exactly who my audience was. When I asked, her name was Amanda, shout out Amanda Rodriguez, Realty Killeen, Texas. They're the only people to go to. But she said, "Yeah, it's going to be a bunch of realtors, mostly women, for the most part. It's going to be at this restaurant. It's going to be like a speed dating thing. You're a vendor. All these realtors just go. You get, I think, up maybe 2 minutes or maybe 90 seconds to just introduce yourself, elevator pitch kind of thing, where you just get to let them know what you do." I had just lost my voice, so I was talking like a frog, but I was doing everything I could to, to meet with these people. And I said, "Well, what should I bring for as a vendor? This is my first time, not only, as a pest, but to ever do anything like this." And so I went to Office Depot. Well, I went online. I created my own little flyer. Yeah, it was I did it all. I spent the entire night trying to make this thing. Oh, and it looked cool, man. It was awesome. I was so excited for it. Um, and my wife, she had all this stuff, and so she goes, "Okay, you know what? I can make this stuff." I said, "Listen, we're going to be around a lot of women." She goes, "I got a lot of extra earrings." So I mean, she had dozens and dozens of packages of earrings, little studs, things that she had made. We just slipped my business card in there. And we were the talk of the town that day, man. It was awesome, dude. And that's 100% because of my wife. She made me about a dozen shirts. We had a bunch of empty shirts. She put my logo on them. So we had different sizes for shirts. Again, this was all stuff that we just had. Luckily, she had it at the house. She had a bunch of keychains, and I put "confidence is key." I just put those on. I just, she made those for me. She made maybe about 50 of those. The cards. I mean, she just went balls to the wall. And dude, my wife, I love her, and she she just did so much for me that day. And we got there, and we laid out our table, and there were so many. I mean, we were such a big hit. I mean, because you got to realize, I knew going in to that environment that I was going to be dealing with 99% of women, and sure enough, it was mostly women. And as they went to every booth, they said, "Oh, I've been waiting to get to this booth all day long," and they were able to get earrings and shirts and all these things. And I got cards. And this one lady, she goes, "I really like everything you got." And she goes, "And we had a pest control company, and they kind of just up and left." And she goes, I own a property management company, and we own a couple thousand homes, give me your information, and we're looking for a pest guy. Earlier in the video, I mentioned that one big break. Maybe it wasn't as big of a break as, hitting $1 million account, but that was that big break on day one, or in month one for sure. And since then, they have provided me with thousands of dollars of work this year. I mean, this year I tripled in what I did last year, and I did a lot of work for them this year. And I continuously, every week they send me work orders for a lot of one times, and that's all it is, just a bunch of one time services for the most part. But I'm their preferred vendor. That one day, having those things, I'm their preferred vendor. So that's just a fun story. I just remember that was really, really awesome. My wife, 100%, give her all the credit in the world, because without her, I couldn't have done that. And so she helped me kill it at that. We got that vendor, or I became their vendor, and I am still their vendor, and I just take care of them all the time. They take care of me. We're actually making a bunch of cookies for them because I'm going on vacation. So we're getting ready to go drop off a big old Christmas thank you, some stuff that we have for them. But that was my first day, first week. That really was my first. I think that happened within my first 2 weeks of opening the business. But yeah, man. Look, this is a really long video. I just get to talking, and I especially just got excited about the question and talking about that. So from the bottom of my heart, I apologize for 41 minutes of going on and on, but I hope that you found some type of golden nugget in here, that you can use something, that there's some value in here. If not, hopefully my wife sees this and she knows how much, I'm thankful for that day. But if y'all have any other questions, anything specific you want me to answer, let me know. Drop it in the comment section. Do me a favor, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and it'd be awesome if you hit that share button as well. I'm going to be in Orlando for this next week. I'm going on vacation, but don't worry, I will make a video, just because I love doing this. So I'll make another video very, very soon. We leave tomorrow, but I wanted y'all to have something. So until then, you guys, until the next video, until the next time, man, well, first off, see, even I need to slow down. First off, I hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful holiday season. Thank you all so much for watching, man. And I'll do something special before the end of the day. I'll probably do something special. I'll figure out something. I don't know what I'll do, but I'll do something special. But thank you all so much. Again, it means the world to me, and I'm rooting for every single one of you. I hope you all create something truly special, something you can really, be proud of. So keep hustling, keep grinding, and as always, stay confident. Until next time, you guys, take care.